So the ICD on their list in the Cecchetti things of rhythms they'd like you to know for DDE, they've just written march. Now I think there's a bit of a problem with this because I think there's two separate kinds of marches and they are different. So one is like what I just played at the beginning of the video, and that's a march it's in 2/4, I'm going to say, and it goes a 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4 and a 5 and 6 and a 7 and 8 and a 1 and march and a march and march and a march. So you probably use that for marching. But then there's another kind of march that you also get in ballet class, and it's much slower, and to musicians we'd write it in 4/4, or I'd think of it being in 4/4, but really there's no difference. You could still write it in 2/4, and it's just slower. So it's the kind of and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. So the counts are basically half the speed, aren't they? So the first one was a 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4 and a 5 and 6 and 7 and 8, and the other one was and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. So I'd say one of them is a slow march, and it's used for some things, and the other one is a quick march, and it's used for other things. So they just written march, so I think about that. So it doesn't matter if you're having a quick march or a slow march, you're still going to have 4 counts in. And in a quick march, the 4 counts will sound like and a 5 and 6 and 7 and a 8. And in the slow march, the 4 counts will sound like and a 5 and a 6 and a 7 and a 8. So the quick march will sound like, and the slow march will sound like. So they're both called marches, but they're completely different. You couldn't do the same steps at all. Okay, so in the Cecchetti grades, we have in grade 3, you've got it's the exercise for Troll and Lair, but it's also the preparation for on the or for the girls as well. This is what I would call the quicker march, so it goes like this. So it's going 5 and a 6 and 7 and 8 and a 1 and 2 and 3 and a 4. That's the quick march. And then you've got the other thing that's called a march in music, and the ICD like it as well, and that's the kind of music you get in grade 6 at the bar. You've got the Grand Batman exercise, and this is that kind of much slower march, so it goes. And a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. So the quick march, you're going to count it and a 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4. And the slower march, you're going to count and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. To me, I'd think of them as just different things. A slow march is one thing, and a quick march is something else. So for the quick march, I think of a famous song as being, I'd probably use, oh, the grand old Duke of York, he had 10,000 men, and that'd be the kind of music you could march to. And for the slow march, if you know your ballet music, you could think of the Romeo and Juliet. That might be a good one to think of. So with the quick march, you'd probably use it for things like tendus, dégages, jetés, and those kind of things at the bar. I wouldn't really use it for jumping that much because it kind of got a very down feeling. It doesn't really feel like a polka and rags are much better for jumping. You can also use it for things like if you're doing an exercise where you're teaching people to turn or teaching people to spot, you might ask for a march because you're doing, it fits that kind of chaîné slow. You can have and a 5 and 6 and a 7 and 8. It fits those kind of chaîné rhythms, and it also fits that kind of training exercises when you're spotting, and leave your head and turn your head and turn your head and leave your head, that kind of thing. It fits those kind of things. And then the slow march, I think of it as a different kind of march, and that's good for Grand Batman, obviously, like in grade 6, and it's also really good for kind of men's or boys allegro, like especially things like tour en l'air, like they often do exercises where they go and a change, 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 and a up, tour en l'air, and a change, 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 releve, tour en l'air, and that's that kind of slow march music that goes. That kind of thing. So that's another thing you want to use a slow march for, those kind of bigger jumps. I think on the they ask you to make a playlist in the Cecchetti DDE, and one of the things they want you to have on a playlist is a 4/4 grande allegro. And it's not totally obvious what they mean by that, but I think they mean something like what I just played then, which is from Swan Lake. It's the male solo from Swan Lake. Because you can do grande allegro to that. I think that's what they mean, and that I'd say that's a slow march. So if I was going to ask for a march in a ballet class, I'd say, can I have a march, please? And a 5 and 6 and 7 and an 8 and a 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4 and 5. Or if it was a slow march, I'd say, can I have a march, please? And a 5 and a 6 and a 7 and an 8 and a 1. So it's hard to count that slow. You'd want to do it while you were counting it, I think. I forgot to say I'll have an intro of 4 counts then, but it didn't really matter because I counted the intro when I was counting, so the pianist would have known what the intro to play because I counted it. So you don't always have to say, can I have an intro of 4 counts? You can just count the intro, but you might want to, you might not want to.